Back again with the same image here in Photoshop CS2. I'm actually recording here Photoshop CS2, and we'll discuss some further concepts, some basic concepts of using the layer mask. And let's suggest with this image that we want to darken the sky, and only the sky, really leaving the hills in the foreground alone. We can certainly do that in a number of ways. I'll show you two ways. The first way I'm going to show you is really the wrong approach. It's a non-efficient way to do it. And then secondly, I'll show you a better approach. So logically, what we could do is copy this layer. And I'm going to do that now. And if we just use a straight levels adjustment on this layer, image, adjustments and levels, you can get to that Control L on the keyboard, and we'll just basically darken the whole layer off. So I'm keeping an eye on the sky here and paying no attention to what's going on with the hills and the foreground poppies. I'm just looking at how I want to see the sky. Let's say I've decided that I like the sky there. Now of course the problem is we've got the sky how we want it, but we've also completely darkened and underexposed the foreground. So what we can do is use a layer mask to hide the results of what we've done on this layer, this particular layer, to the foreground, and just only reveal what the change we've made to the sky. So we can add a layer mask. Now we could certainly paint the changes in using a paintbrush. That's one way. We could start painting in white. In black, my mistake. The white part of this layer mask is, don't forget, is revealing all of that pixel data, and in this case all of the darkened results. So to hide the pixels which are dark on this layer, we've got the paintbrush. We're painting in black. I could use a very large brush and start painting away like this, and painting that brightness back in. That's certainly one approach that would work. And so you can see the dark part of the mask is concealing our dark pixels. The white part of the mask is revealing the darkened sky. So we're essentially seeing a little bit of both of the files. We're seeing the bright hills and poppies of the bottom layer, but we're seeing the white part of this mask is revealing our darkened change to the sky in this upper layer. However, there's a better way and an easier way of doing it than that. I'm just going to fill this mask with white again from the menu, edit, fill, this time with white. So that reveals all of the dark pixels in this upper layer, essentially the change we made with the levels palette. We can make a quick gradual transition from light to dark on this layer by using the gradient tool. Now when I click on gradient, you might well see the paint bucket tool here. It's hidden away in the menu. Just hold the mouse down until you get to the gradient tool, and it should be by default on this to the leftmost icon, which is a linear gradient set from black to white, or the foreground to background. Now don't forget, black conceals and white reveals. So to use the gradient tool, if I click and drag up to approximately there, and let's go a bit higher, if you look at the mask now, and I'll show you the mask, the black part of this mask moving through a gradual transition to white, don't forget the black would be hiding the darkened pixels of the upper layer, and the white is revealing the darker pixels of the sky. So we've essentially achieved the same thing, but with one click and drag of the mouse, really, with the gradient tool and this gradual transition between the bright foreground and our darkened change that we made to the sky. I describe that as being an inefficient way to do things, because we don't really need this upper layer to do the same job. Let me demonstrate. I could have done the whole thing from using a levels adjustment layer. So we're going to do the same thing, only this time we're using an adjustment layer. Now when I make a darken change to the whole image, You'll notice that all adjustment layers by default come with their own built-in mask, which is really very, very handy. At the moment it's in white, so it's revealing all of our darkness, the darken change we've just made. To hide part of those darkened pixels, we just do the same thing again. Draw a layer, a gradient, so that the black part of the mask is hiding the darkened change that the levels is applying, and the white part of the mask is revealing the darkness of the sky, which is giving us this effect, which is exactly what we want. And it's doing it in a very gradual, tonal gradual way, much like if you're familiar with using a graduated neutral density filter, which is a filter that you can put over the lens on your camera, would have much the same effect, only this time we're doing it after the fact in Photoshop, whereas with a neutral density graduated filter you'd be doing it at the time of the actual picture taking itself. So we'll leave this movie here and we'll explore some other layer mask concepts in the next movie.